Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mike's wonderful 240 SX drift prep vlog drift car. Anyway, guys, what is going on today? It is Sunday. I think it's July 1st today. It's been a little bit since I've recorded. You guys saw the last video. It didn't go quite so well with the car. We didn't really get to make it down to OSW for the Learner's Day drift event, which really sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Sorry, I was kind of away for a while. I don't know how long it actually was. It's probably only like a week, and I'm making it out to seem like it was years that you guys haven't seen me. Anyway, yeah, today is Sunday. I think it's July 1st or 2nd or something. I'm on my way right now up to Jacksonville. I have to go get fitted for a tux for a wedding that I'm going to be in a few months. And after that, we're going to go home and we're going to try to work on the car a little bit today. And I also have tomorrow off, Monday, which is nice, the day before the 4th of July. Oh, well, tomorrow's the day before the 4th of July. Yeah, today's the 2nd then. Today's July 2nd, probably. But anyway, I got to go do that up in Jacksonville, and we're going to get back to the car. I was waiting for some parts to come in, and I actually still haven't gotten everything yet. But I'm going to give Injuku a call tomorrow and see if maybe it was just something was out of stock and they just haven't gotten it in yet. But I did buy new braided lines. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that. But I have new turbo lines, and we're going to get those on. But the other thing I'm waiting on that's going to kind of halt the car until we get it is I have a coolant temp sensor that I would really like to hook up, so I'm not just reading my water temp off that dinky little gauge that Nissan puts in there. So, but in order to get that hooked up, I'm waiting on it's like a little adapter piece that I guess you cut your radiator hose and you slide this adapter in, and it's got a little bung for the water temp sensor. So I'm waiting for that to come in, because I figured while I have all the coolant drained to do the turbo water lines, why not just cut that radiator hose and throw that in, so that way that's one less thing I have to drain the coolant again for, like, you know, in a week or two. So I think we're going to try and get the turbo lines on today, and if the piece that I'm hoping on, that adapter piece for the radiator hose, isn't in my mailbox, which I haven't checked yesterday, so it might have come yesterday, but either way, if that's not in there, I think we're just going to get the turbo lines hooked up and leave the car without coolant until I get this piece, and then we'll be able to get that on and fill it with coolant, and everything should be back to new. Like I said, I've been waiting on parts, and honestly, I've just been a little depressed that I didn't get to make it to that event. I was really bummed. I was super stoked to go, and it was just like everything just crumbled on that day. But anyway, that's in the past, so we're not going to talk about that, because we're going to make it to the next drift event. I'm not going to say that, actually. I don't want to get your hopes up just in case, but really aiming for that next drift event. I already have, like, everything set up a lot better than I did for that first one. I was very... not unprepared, I had everything, but I just wasn't expecting on how much time it would take to get everything done. So I'm gonna go get fitted for this tux, and I'll be home soon, and we're gonna see if we can't start taking apart that turbo side, getting those lines on. Alright guys, so just like that, we're back home. It's a little bit later in the day, about 4 o'clock. So we're going to start getting these lines on. I think the easiest way is going to be to just remove the whole turbo manifold and everything and kind of pull it out of the car a little bit. It'll be a lot easier to work with, and I feel like that's just the right way to do it. So I'm just going to start taking apart this exhaust side. We're going to pull the intercooler piping off, the intake, manifold, obviously, probably the downpipe. So we're going to get started on that. All right, so as you guys can see, I got all the bolts out of the manifold. Engine bay is looking pretty bare without the piping in here, but this should be fairly loose. I left the down pipe on for now because it's in the grass, and obviously now I have everything off. I can't start it. I'm by myself. It'd be really hard for me to push it out to the road. So, and I tried to jack it up on the dirt, and it's just not a smart idea. I'm gonna see how much clearance I have if I leave the exhaust on, how much it'll wiggle. If it wiggles enough that I can kind of pull it back and get to those fittings, then we'll be able to get these on. If not, then I'm honestly gonna just have to wait for somebody to come help me, give me a hand and push this thing back so we can get on the road, and I could jack it up off the ground a little bit and get up underneath to loosen up those 3 bolts on the exhaust. But I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling on this thing and see if I can get it to wiggle off a little bit. Alright, so we got the manifold off a little bit. I just pulled the lower radiator hose off. We're going to drain the coolant out of it. And then I'm going to start seeing if I can get to these coolant lines at all. But in the meantime, I haven't eaten anything all day, and Cameron happened to leave his leftover tacos in my fridge. So, thanks, Camo. Alright guys, so slight change of plans, I think. For those of you that don't know, I live in the beautiful state of Florida. But it is the only state that can look gorgeous all day, and then out of nowhere we're gonna have a massive rainstorm in the next like 10 minutes. So we're gonna play a little game called see if I can get everything cleaned up and put away before the heavens open up. Wish me luck. Alright guys, so it's day number 2. It rained yesterday a little bit. We got cleaned up in time. So we're out here again today, the day before Independence Day. Really don't want to be working on this thing all day, so we're going to see if we can just try and get these lines on really quick and put it all back together. Alright, so yesterday I was able to take the intercooler piping off. I got the intake out, loosened up and removed all these bolts that hold on the manifold right here. Pulled off the lower radiator hose and let the coolant drain out so we could work on these braided lines right here without getting too much coolant all over us. And now we're going to go about trying to replace these AN fittings down here. Alright, so we got it moved, we got it covered, we got it up on jack stands. I'm going to crawl underneath and see if we can't get to some of these other little AN fittings from underneath a little bit easier. Alright, so there's the first one that I already took off. That was the steel hose that you could see up top there. This one right here is the oil line. I'm actually not going to replace the oil lines just yet. Okay, good. So this one right about there, that's the one that I already have disconnected that I just showed you on the front. And this guy right here is the, I believe that's the return line. That's the one that I messed with in the last video right before the drift event. This is the guy that I wound up taking off and kind of refitting into that AN fitting, but we're just gonna go ahead and replace the whole thing since we ordered the lines. And that's the one, if you remember, that runs all the way up and to behind the head. See, the main problem I'm gonna have is getting this this AN fitting that's on the back side of the turbo, the water return, because it needs to be a 17 deep socket, and I can get the socket on, but I don't really have too much of enough room to get a socket wrench on it. So I'm gonna give it a shot and we'll see what happens. All right, so I just finished getting the lines on. Now it is time to tighten everything down and start putting the car back together. But I'm gonna give you guys real quick while I still have it apart, kind of a little overview of everything I did to get the new lines, or the old lines off and the new lines on and everything. So like I said, the first thing I did was remove the intercooler piping, the intake, a couple of little breather hoses that run around here. I pulled the lower radiator hose down there just to drain out some of the coolant so these lines didn't start pissing out coolant as soon as I started working on them. From there, I took all 8 of these. There's 1 down here, and then 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 1 down there. All 8 of the manifold bolts. And sometimes you'll get this stud, and sometimes the stud will come out with the actual nut. Either way, it's fine. Just remember which hole each one came out of, so when you put them back, you can put them back in the same hole they came out of. If there's one hose, I'll start with this one. This guy, this is how the hose looks that runs behind the block. It's just a little braided with a little, kind of like an AN fitting, but it's got a hose clamp on it. And then for our other one, there's a little, here I can pull this manifold out of the way a little bit. There's this little fitting, where's he at? Right down here. And that one just runs right through here and into, I don't know if I get the camera back there, but right here. So this is your first line, and then the second one that runs from the block, I got from, I was able to get it off from underneath. I also undid the exhaust just so I could give it a little bit more wiggle room and took off the oil return tube right here. It's not looking so hot. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning. I'm gonna try and stick it out as much as I can because I really want to try and get all this work done. I'm so close. I just have to start bolting the manifold and whatnot back on. So I'm gonna get to doing that, and hopefully it doesn't rain. Of course it doesn't rain yesterday when I pack everything up, and now I want to work and it's gonna pour today. Alright guys, so the rain finally stopped. It's like 8 o'clock at night. Car is still up on jack stands. Didn't really get around to finishing it today with the rain and everything. There is a drift event this weekend coming up. Not sure if I'm gonna be able to drive in it. I should probably put my seatbelt on. Look at that. Oh my god, that's way too bright. Wow, that's beautiful though. But anyway, like I was saying, there's a drift event coming up this weekend on Saturday. We're not sure if I'm gonna be able to drive in it with the car how it is. I mean, it's easy to fix to get that up, but I haven't driven it in like probably 2 weeks or so since that line blew, or a week, however long ago that was. Yeah, we're gonna try that. If I can't drive, we'll probably wind up going anyway just to go check it out and maybe film a little bit. But other than that, that's where we're at. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while, but I'm gonna be putting out a lot of videos here soon. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching. Make sure you leave a like down below, comment, share the video, tell your friends. But that's it for me. I'm gonna go watch some fireworks and enjoy the holiday. I will see you guys in the next video.